Good day.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Let's Talk About It Tuesday. I am Master Key, and this is,
King Zo.
and we are here to talk about growing together. What does that even mean?
All right. What I think growing together is, I think growing together is a process of two people learning how to walk individual paths together. So, understanding how to give each other space, understanding how to be around each other, understanding how to cohabitate, understanding sharing, understanding giving, understand taking. Yes, just the process of being able to be with another person. Because whether you like it or not, you're gonna grow. It just depends on how.
How do you choose who to grow with? Is there a criteria, or you just grow with everybody?
Well, you're gonna grow regard. How I feel as a person is gonna grow regardless. Whether you like it, whether depending on which way you're gonna grow, is who you want around. So for me, I would say pick someone who's growing in the direction that you want to grow in.
It's pretty simple.
Very simple. What do you think growing together is?
Growing together is being able to recognize the person for who they truly are, accept that person for who they truly are, and who you want to be together. Like you grow together into those people you want to become, even if you're not there already. Uh, for the better common goal, whatever the common goal is for the two of you. Uh,
Well, what do you think some growing pains are?
hmm.
Hmm.
From personal experience, some growing pains that I've had to deal with is in being learning how to be independent and dependent at the same time, and learning that it's okay to be dependent. Another growing pain that I've encountered is learning to be vulnerable without embarrassment. Um, but you have to also be with someone who won't belittle you if it is something that's embarrassing, or someone that even understands where you're coming from. But that's a double edged sword, because you have to be able to express those vulnerabilities and be okay with those things being touched or altered for the better.
Hmm.
What are, well, what are some of your growing pains?
Learning how to help. I think a lot of times you help someone in the way that you would want to be helped yourself, but when you're able to help someone the way that they want to be helped, it makes a bit more of a difference. It's like pitching a ladder up on the wrong house. Like I can do things the way that I think is right, but if I never consult the person to know what they think is right, and I'm trying to help them, then I may be counteracting something that they're doing that they actually want. So taking the time to actually listen. Communication isn't just talking and just listening. It's sometimes it's just trying to understand, being completely silent as someone is speaking.
Let's talk about timing as it relates to growth. Is there a time limit on if this person don't get their stuff together, I'm bouncing? Or what do you measure? How do you measure growth and the ability to stick with something, or time to like jump ship?
Well, I think that depends on each individual person. Some people have red flags. Some people have things that they're really gonna tolerate. For me personally, I think what was big in per se our relationship was being able to provide grace, because there were places that grace was necessary. But I made a clear stance on what I would and wouldn't take. So I wasn't worried about red flags, because what I wanted and didn't want was known. Everything that was in gray area was something that could be spoken on. We'll work it out. We'll talk about it. But if I said a hell no and you was on a hell yeah, then I was on a hell no.
No matter what.
Hell no.
So basically, set the standard and don't settle.
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
I made clear. I think clear boundaries in the beginning helps things last longer or last to where they're supposed to go. Like I mean, I'm I would rather set boundaries than set a cap. So that way we can continue to grow upwards, but as long as we have a path that we're growing, that's what boundaries will be able to keep, properly, whatever.
Okay. Um.
You? Your question? Your question was is there a time limit?
As a woman, yeah. Well, as a woman, when from experience prior to you, when you're not equally yoked or on the same page, you have to be able to understand that you're in the right situation with the right person at all times. A lot of times, as women, we think, oh, we're allowing the person to grow, but it's not a team thing. It's you're being strung along, or you're waiting for something to happen. In this situation, it wasn't any time frame because everything I had prayed for was already within you. It was just about me accepting that, um, and being able to just move forward with it. But um, when the person isn't what this case is, I think that you should move on as soon as possible. You, the only time you allow is time to speak on those things that bother you. Get them addressed before you make your decision. But that's it.
Well, I mean, even to follow up on that, I think if someone's always true to themselves, no matter what they say. Words will betray, but actions won't. If someone shows you that they are what they are, like they want to run around with bitches, and if you started dating them and they had a bunch of females, what make you think that they're gonna drop a bunch of females at any particular point in time while you're in the middle of it, or vice versa? Female with a bunch of niggas. If you're thinking of coming to something, then and it's gonna be y'all too, then before you get together, you probably want to make it plain and clear that it's just gonna be us two. And if that's a boundary that's set and then it's broken, then that's a whole different story. Then that's not dealing with boundaries, that's dealing with lies and stuff like that. And it's one thing to deal with one problem, but it's a whole different thing to deal with two.
Mm. Um, let's talk about the timing. Um, most people did not know we were in the relationship. Uh, uh, is there a vetting time to understand if a person is that one for you, or how does that work?
Well, yeah, there's always betting. Um, for us, we kind of happen a lot quicker than most people take time to do their thing. What I would say is what I think a lot of people don't know is we were good friends for about 6 months. Like we corresponded back and forth, and then we spoke on the phone from a very it was an innocent place. So my getting to know you wasn't inside the relationship. My getting to know you was outside of a relationship. And while we both had different things going on, you and I, we tried to help each other grow for other situations, like just speaking life of each other, like when we didn't have to. And that built a different kind of trust because I knew I could trust you when your intentions weren't on me. And I think vice versa. And so now that my intention is to help you for the benefit of me, like it just only like it fluffs up, it overdrives what we already had going. But vetting is something that happens, I think, in a friendship. You don't vet somebody in a relationship because I knew you were dating material before I wanted to date you.
Hmm.
I knew what kind of woman you were, and then when I was with you, I know what kind of woman you are. So I don't question who I'm with. I just question, the things that may be happening around you because I know you're solid from prior to the relationship. But if someone's just liking on somebody, they never take the time to actually go through that friendship stage. I think that's why a lot of niggas be like, man, dog, that shit ain't my friend no more because when it started, they were never actually friends. They started off and like, I liked you, you like me, we fucked. Then it don't never like you never had. She never took the time to actually get to know you. Like you dated her.
And it's people are always busy trying to impress instead of actually being themselves.
You feel me? So when you take that out of the equation, next thing you know, you love them, but you don't like them. So that's what most people find themselves in: love without like, and then they go through their relationship wondering why the growth never happens. But loving someone helps you stay there through a tough time. But if you like them, you don't want to be around them from day to day.
When it's convenient for you.
Yeah, like I like you, so it's fun to be around you just as much as I love you for the hard times when it's harder to be around you.
Gotcha. Okay.
What do you think about time?
I think you, from experience, timing is just, it's amazing how fast things can happen for you once you make up your mind to grow for the better and all things. So this time last year I was single. We did talk on the phone a lot around this time last year. Um, but it was from an innocent place. If you had asked me this time last year, would we be in a situation like this where we were planning on a forever type of situation or a baby, I would have laughed and told you, hell no, like that's just my friend. But um, through time, it doesn't take that long. It is true. I used to read a lot of social media posts. They're like, oh, women, a man will know within this amount of time if he wants you to marry you, whatever. And I used to be like, that's bogus. But it's because I couldn't relate. But it is true. Um, but the most important decision is to grow within. Like when you focus on your personal growth, it's easier to attract what it is that you need, and also a like mind. So that's what I found in this situation. Um, I was focused on my growth. I was preparing for something I didn't even like. I knew it was possible, but I didn't think it would happen for me like this. My mind was set on something else, but through time and through growing to let things go that were not for me, I've gotten exactly everything I've ever prayed for. So Tommy, I mean, your heart knows, your mind knows, your spirit knows, uh, and more importantly, whatever your higher power, if you believe in God, then God knows. You just consult, and it's just simple. It doesn't take all of that waiting. You don't have to wait for what's divine. You don't have to wait for what's destined to be. You just got to be ready to accept it and grow. Um, yeah, rid yourself of those weeds within.
I agree. I often say to you, I made up my mind to be trustworthy and all that other good stuff before I did that for myself. So I wanted to be a man of my own word. Like I wanted to be able to stand on my shit, so that if someone else was, dealing with me, they would be able to respect me for that too. And I know that it helps our relationship that I'm not a trustworthy man just to you. I'm a trustworthy man to myself. Like you believe me because I believe me. And I think that's something else that works for you. I believe you because you believe you.
Yeah. That's another big thing. One thing I love about you, I told you about this earlier, but you always say, like, I'm not. It's a big thing to be true to you first, not in a selfish way, but in a way that when things don't go right with your person, you're still able to stand on that standard. Um, Yeah, like you have to be faithful or true to yourself so that you could be with truth even when things ain't perfect or good.
Yeah, like I say all the time, I'm not faithful to you. I'm faithful to me. And I know that sounds like a selfish statement, but how could you be loyal to anybody else if you don't know how to be loyal to yourself?
Mm. He always say too, it, that doesn't mean that it's just about your wants. It's about even if you because if you were to cheat, you would be cheating on
Never cheating on me.
and me.
So
But you first.
yeah, because I will.
You be cheating yourself.
But that part, but to see you as an extension of me means that to cut my nose to spite my face, it just wouldn't make sense. Because if I stop your growth by doing something to you, then it stops my growth. So in any way, shape, or form, so that helps with how a man can think of infidelity. Because if you're thinking of it as just going and getting a while, that's one thing. But when you think of it as I'm hurting a piece of myself because it's going to draw something from me, like it makes that risk reward factor it doesn't seem as appealing. It's not a hunt anymore. And then you will go for what you have in your hand instead of what's in the bush.
And ask you, how did you get to this point of growth? Like in our culture, obviously, you got like you got dozens of doms. How do you go from a plethora of women to being like, oh, I just want one? How do you do
Let me
that?
help. Well, this is how it happened. I did make my mistakes. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I was born perfect and I had that. Like I ain't never did nothing wrong. But what ended up happening was I came to understand that when you see something and you want it as a man, what it really is you appreciate it. Like you're able to see something and say God made something beautiful. Now, what most men do in that situation, you be like, man, God made it beautiful. Now I want it. When all you need to do is just appreciate what's there and say it's beautiful, just like you would say that if you saw a beautiful forest, you see like a mountain or you see a sunset. But there's 365 sunsets a year.
Mm.
You don't have to want every single sunset. But I always use this analogy. I love fruit, but plums are my favorite. So I just needed to find a plum, my plum. And then when you have your own, then instead of you wanting to pick between every single thing, you go to what's yours. It changes how you see different things. So my standard of what I want is you. So when you're exchanging something, you never exchange one for like half of one. You always exchange one for one. Or you try to exchange one for more. But if you're my one of one, then I don't need to exchange something for what I already got because it would just be a fake version of it. So it's more how you perceive things. It's okay to think that another woman is beautiful, but that's somebody else's woman. So me and you could look at somebody and say, that's a nice looking lady and walk away from it. Or we say that's a nice looking dude or whatever that may be and leave that to where it is. But you should appreciate me and I should appreciate you just in that fashion. What about you?
Uh, how did I go? Well, first off, I was very particular about my tone. You valued it. You valued me as a person. I didn't. I didn't have to wear. Not that I had to wear a mask. I tried to wear a mask with you. It's kind of corny. It didn't work out. And it was really. It wasn't really a mask. It was armor for protection. Because again, I was afraid of vulnerability. Um, but there were a lot of dudes at me, but they weren't about me. So uh, it was pretty easy to weed them out. And then again, um, the exchange. So there was more weight and worth in our interactions and whatever amount of time than I've probably gotten over years of knowing other people. It's an easy decision. Like yeah, it was everything I prayed for, but it just didn't look like what I thought would be mine. It was just really simple. I was adamant about doing my thing until I was spoken for, but you spoke up. So it's like, why would I continue playing worthless games when I have something to value and grow with? So uh, that was a simple why for me.
Good shit. You fucking angel.
Um, let's see, any growing together. Let's talk about. Obviously, we have a child on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, have do you think that since we found out that we would be parents, that there's been a different standard of growth, or
Oh fuck yeah.
can we talk about it?
Hell yeah. Well, I've always been a progressionary kind of person. Like I don't like to stand still. I like the process of moving forward. I've been told that's just my sign and all that shit, but I'm I've always been like every day I need to do something. Every day I need to do something. Every day I need to do something. With knowing that I have a child, it's not just every day I need to do something. Every day I need to do something that will add to what my child will have. I'm big on inheritance. I want my child to have a car by the time they're 16. I want my child to be working for my business that I already have. I want, I'm not saying that she got to be what I want her to be, but I am saying that, like, she shouldn't have to worry about a job. Like, she shouldn't, like, not saying that she shouldn't work, but if she's going to work, she can work for my company. And I could pay her $40,000 out the gate in high school so that she understands, like, look, this is how you learn to make money. You set your worth. Like, allow my child to be able to do that type of stuff. But now I just, when I go and I work hard, like, I have a purpose behind what I'm doing. Like, I'm not just going in and I'm working for this and doing that. And I even in my workout, like, I think, like, well, what if I'm doing this squat? What if I gotta lift my baby? You feel me? Like, like one more just for her. Like, just because, like, I may have to pick her up, and I don't want to be that it can't do it. Like I want to be strong enough to be able to do that type of stuff. I want to be strong enough to be able to have longevity for her. And so I want to provide my child a mindset, and with that mindset comes me having to already have that instilled in me. That way, I'm not just gonna be preaching, "Hey man, get up and go work hard, go out there and do this," and then like not be able to show her how to do it. So as far as like that extra oomph and push that I got for growth, the growth just comes from what I have to give somebody else because I can't give my kid eats what I eat. If I don't prepare it well for to eat for myself, then how is she gonna even be able to sustain off of that? So that's what my thoughts on growth. How about yours?
Um, Definitely. When I found out that I had a baby on the way, um, something just went off in me. My whole brain started to shift because it's like I have to be responsible forever now for a life. What does that look like? Certain habits, certain lifestyle things they had to be. They had to go. Some things went immediately. I started thinking for like as a mother, like your brain shifts. It's like, well, yeah, you protect the child, but more importantly, you have to be sufficient enough for the worst case situations and for what's best going forward with your child. So my brain like literally just went through a shifting process. Life wasn't the same for like the first 2 months because everything got did. I was like, oh, if I have a child, then I have to do this. Like it's just a double everything plus or times two, pretty much. That pushed me a lot. And very recently, like this last week, as a woman, a lot of things, a lot of like habits and things that I've adopted over the years. I know they got to go. Um, it's just certain things that as a young child that I was allowed to be, or maybe my environment shaped me to be, that I don't want to pass on to a little girl. Uh, so yeah, it's a lot of molding I have to go back through again, or just pressure washing my soul in a lot of different places, so that I could properly cultivate my baby. So yeah, it's been a lot of growth. Uh, have a little me on the way. Um, yeah, so definitely.
Any last words?
No, I'm excited. I'm thankful. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We had someone, looks like Yasmin, is commenting. She's actually a married woman herself. I've watched her throughout church, um, her and her husband, so that's beautiful. Thank you, Yasmin, for tuning in. Um, any last thoughts for you? Growing together.
Gentlemen, when it's time for you to pick your woman, and you know that you've made a decision, it's like a bet. Don't double back on the bet. If you made your mind up on it, stand on it. The more times you shift back and forth, a woman can feel that. Like they can feel you teetering in your mind. If you gonna want to be with somebody, to be with them. If it ain't gonna work, then let it not work in a relationship. Walk away from it when it's time to walk away from it. I ain't saying that you gotta stay with her forever. I do not condone no man getting beat on by no women. What I do say is let each relationship run its due. Once it's run its due, then move on. But just put your all into it. That way, if it don't work, you can say you did everything you're supposed to.
That's all you got.
That's all I got.
All right, and ladies, uh, make sure you're growing with someone that wants to actually grow with you, uh, for better, and whenever it's not the best. Uh, yeah, just make sure it's about you first and y'all all together. Don't live your life to be accepted in a relationship or just to say that you have someone. That's kind of corny. Um, and whatever works for you, make sure that it's a mutual thing, not just the, oh, my man want me to do this, my man want me to do that. Do it for you first, and if it benefits your man, then that's the man that's for you.
Shabbat.
So have a good night. We'll tune in next week for our next topic of Let's Talk About Tuesday. If y'all have any suggestions or anything, inbox us and go follow our page. Let's Talk About It Tuesday with Master Kei and King Zo. Yasmin said one man's trash is another man's treasure. She said, y'all need to make a law for these young bucks that think it's okay to have more than one woman and put their hands on them. You want to talk about that next week?
You said who doing
Put
who?
their hands on them.
They be having more than one woman and putting their hands on them?
Yeah, I guess so.
They got a lot of shit going on.
But that's for next week. Yeah.
They got internal problems.
But before we go, a great opportunity for growth if you're looking for one is going to be prime time dispatching. If you're into the trucking industry or would like to learn anything about the trucking industry, there is a young lady named Cash Edwards. She has her own courses, and she can teach you how to dispatch into a six-figure, really $1 billion industry. But it'll get you started with additional income if you plan on building generational wealth.
This is one way to do it.
This is one way to do it. So
we'll be sharing on both of our pages and our Let's Talk About It page.
All right. In the meantime, y'all have a great night. Y'all be great. We'll see y'all next week, and we'll figure out what we're going to talk about. All right.
Next Tuesday.
Much love, abundance, peace.